This is not a dream. We are using your preferred podcast provider as a receiver.
Welcome back to Live from Manchester Morgue, the horror movie podcast which is neither recorded live nor in a morgue, but it's okay because your hosts are both dead inside. I'm Gary, with me as usual is Ken. Hello, Ken.
Hello.
So we've got a bit of a special episode this time. We're doing something slightly different in that we're mixing up the format just as a one-off. We want to give you our top 5 horror movies of the year so far. We're halfway through the year. The solstice has come and gone.
Has it?
Yeah, a bit rude.
Right, yeah.
Stay for a coffee. So in no particular order, we chose these, perhaps inevitably Ryan Coogler's Sinners, The Surrender by Julian Max, James Ashcroft's Rule of Jenny Penn, Dan Trachtenberg's latest franchise entry Predator, Killer of Killers, and The Ugly Stepsister. And that was our top 5 for 25. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye. No, sorry, you stuck with us for a bit longer. So yeah, that's what we're going to be covering. We've also got an interview with writer and director of The Surrender, Julian Max, who was really lovely and great to talk to her, coming up in a bit. If it's your first time watching the show, we do urge you to watch the movies first to prevent any spoilers. We're going to try not to do too many spoilers. Normally we do kind of retro movies, but these are quite current.
Yeah.
So we recommend watching them before you listen, just in case we let anything slip that you don't want to know about.
Yeah.
Also, if you're tuning in for the first time, do consider helping us grow by leaving us a rating or sharing the show with your horror buddies. Podcasts do benefit quite a lot from word of mouth. So that would be very helpful. Thank you.
And if you can't share it with any friends, that's fine. I don't have any friends. You're not even my friend, so.
No, I don't like you at all.
No.
So we'll talk about those films, and we've also got a little bit of what we watched recently that we'll tell you about. But first, we've got some lovely feedback.
Oh.
I don't know if I shared this one.
Not from Phil.
No, who's Phil? No, this is from Sean. I love your podcasts, and you can tell he's true because he uses an exclamation mark at the end of that sentence.
How many?
Just one. But
oh, okay.
One's all you need. I've listened to every one but the most recent so far. Genuinely amusing and informative, and I hope you both make £8 million, but no more, from this venture.
Exactly 8 million.
Exactly. I mean, £8 would be a good start, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I could do
any pounds.
I could do with £8.
Yeah, I could do with £1. Mustang Scally from the suggestion box.
I know that net handle.
Yes. They had a suggestion, thought it would be cool if we did themed episodes like water, fire, earth, electricity, or whatever, as an example. Worst death by fire. Could be Sybil from Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember this from a long time ago in another universe when we did a different show. We talked about Witchfinder General, and her death is the same, isn't it? It's the one where they lower her face first into the bonfire.
Yeah. Silent Hill has like really cool flame death, possibly the best skin death, and a really cool barbed wire violation as well.
Skin death is awful, isn't it?
It's
I remember watching
outstanding.
that. I remember watching that for the first time and went, oh, like that.
Yeah.
I did the noise.
Yeah.
Oh. So Witchfinder General, excellent film.
But that's a great idea from Mustang Scally. I really like the elemental stuff. I like it. Like you could have like not just elements, but best falling down the stairs death. I don't know. I just pulled that out of the top of my brain.
I've got a list on Letterboxd called Head Ants, and it's a list of all films that I've seen where there's a decapitated head that has ants on it.
Oh, great!
There are 2 films on it so far.
Hereditary
and Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
Oh yeah, that new Stephen King film looks good. The Long Walk.
Does it?
Yeah.
I read the story years ago. I haven't seen that.
It's one of my favourite stories.
Oh no, I haven't finished the feedback yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Love the new episode, and you made some brilliant points about the parallels between the films. This was the Texas Chainsaw Blair Witch Project episode.
Oh, cool.
That I'd never noticed before. Very funny, and I really enjoyed the masses of trivia about the film's production and releases. That's from Jazz.
Jazz. Okay.
Thank you, Jazz. Very kind of you to say. What have you watched this week?
I watched, which will probably be. It sounds very recency biased to say that you're going to be ranking a film high at the end of the year, but basically
We are literally only halfway through the year.
Yeah, my favourite film
bold
of the
statement.
year, I don't care what comes out, is Sinners anyway.
Right. Good job we're talking about that.
But I've just... It was too late to make the cut, but like 2 or 3 days ago I saw 28 Years Later, which will be my second favourite film of the year.
All right.
It's phenomenal. It's bonkers. It's incredibly British. It's about Britain. It's about our horrible history and how we're doomed to repeat it.
Oh, great.
And it has the most bonkers ending that everyone on the internet seems to think is derailing the movie, but it's actual genius.
Wait till they see an Indiana Jones movie.
I know.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
But yeah, 20 years later, I won't say anything else on it.
I've only heard good things. To
Go
be honest.
and see it. It's incredible.
Cool. I will go and see that. Well, I watched The Monkey because there was discussion about what movies we were going to include in this episode, because we were going to choose 5, so it didn't go on forever. And I think you proposed The Monkey and then we changed it and I forgot. So I watched it anyway and I made loads of notes about it.
Oh, great. Do you want to go through your monkey notes?
My monkey notes, speaking of Stephen King, it is a Stephen King adaptation.
It is, yeah.
Some would say it bucks the trend by being actually good.
Oh, that's...
No, I know. I said
good.
this. A lot of people say that, but then I started thinking about it. I mean, there's some that aren't universally adored, like Maximum Overdrive or The Night Fly, which I love, or Graveyard Shift.
The Night Fly's great.
Yeah, I love The Night Fly.
Great performance from Miguel
But then
Ferrer.
you've got fucking The Shining and Carrie and Salem's Lot. Like,
I mean,
Misery, The Mist.
Stephen King adaptations like balance it out, because you could have 10 shit ones and then you'll have something like The Shining, which is an enduring masterpiece.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I think I think it was easy to sort of get the rights to those back in the 80s, and there was a slew of really bad ones, like The Mangler, which had Robert Englund in it, I think. Which
is kind of fine. It's not bad.
It's not the worst, is it? But
Cujo's good.
I think there are more... Yeah, Cujo's good. I think there are more good ones than bad, honestly. I think it's a tired cliche that Stephen King adaptations are shit. I don't think they are at all.
Yeah.
2 versions of it,
which are both great.
Yeah. The Running Man.
For different reasons. The Running Man's great. We've got a new Running Man coming from Edgar Wright as well.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, and The Monkey was lots of fun. Tatiana Maslany was in it.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. She's always great.
Literally anything.
Yeah. So the titular, I like saying titular.
I like saying titular too.
The titular monkey. I'm sure in the short story, because I read this, I can't remember when, it had symbols.
Yes,
symbols
it did. You're right. And while I don't have any notes on it, they changed the design for like...
So it's actually beating a literal tiny drum in the film.
Half of my brain, the confused part of my brain, thinks it was copyright for an actual toy.
Right, that makes sense.
And the other part of my brain thinks that they did it for practical reasons because the symbols wouldn't have worked, so they used the drum instead.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. It was creepy.
Pick one of those facts.
Creepy little fucker, either way.
Yeah.
Quite Final Destination-esque as The Monkey. It's got that sort of black humour and outlandish deaths, surprisingly shocking deaths, and that are quite funny.
I like a lot of people explode in it.
Yeah, a lot of people do explode. There's a sign in the motel bit that says "No food after midnight," which must be a reference to fucking Gremlins.
Yeah.
And right, there's a babysitter who dies early on. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people die in this movie. You're not spoiling anything.
Babysitter dies at the beginning, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Her name's Annie Wilkes, like out of...
great.
And Misery. And the school teacher, when there's a flashback scene to the school, the teacher's called Mrs. Torrance. See, Stephen King abounds.
Stephen King nerds.
Yep.
Yeah, The Monkey's great. Not part of our top 5. Though.
Not part of the top 5. It was just pipped at the post by a few other movies. Sorry, Oz Perkins. I'm sure you're devastated to hear that.
Yeah.
So we'll get on to the list then, shall we? Starting off with The Rule of Jenny Penn.
They're not in order of like.
They're not in any order. No, it's just no. It's just I just wrote them down in this order, and I tried to make the narrative flow a bit better by choosing what order to go in.
Yeah, and this, I guess, this list as well is all about like go see this film because it's great.
Yes.
We've not done I've not done mountains of research.
No, we've not. We're not going to delve too deeply into each one purely because we don't want to spoil it. As I said at the beginning of the show, they're quite new. There may be the odd little thing, but by and large, we just want you to go and see these movies.
Yeah.
So, as in the first one we want to talk about is The Rule of Jenny Penn.
Yeah. So if I think the big sell for Jenny Penn is if anyone thought John Lithgow was creepy as fucking Dexter, you'll enjoy this.
I haven't seen that season, you know.
Oh, it's great. Trinity Killer season. Wow. Yeah, so it's John Lithgow. Well, Jeffrey Rush, who we haven't seen in a while in anything really.
No.
He is a judge that has a stroke right at the beginning of the film, and he ends up in a old person's, what do they call them now? Retirement villages? What do they call them?
Something like that.
A retirement home, which is kind of presided over by John Lithgow's. He's also I almost said inmate then. Well,
he's a resident.
It's kind of built to be like, at least in the beginning, at least for most of the film, it's a prison that they're in, and he's almost like a prison guard.
Yeah.
Well, he used to be an
He
orderly.
used to work there, didn't he? And he's essentially a bully who
yeah
rules with him. I was going to say an iron fist,
but he rules with a plastic doll.
He's like a little creepy doll
on his fist.
Yeah, he's a terrible man. So yeah, John Lithgow and Jeffrey Rush was a great combination. Actually, we had a comment about this on the Blue Sky from Deadly Daria. She said they've seen it. It was quite an enduring watch. It is quite horrible.
It's a hard.
Yeah. But she said the combination of those two was the law. And yeah, they were both magnificent in it, I thought.
Yeah, it's a great battle of wits.
Wits and wills, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Jeffrey Rush's character, it's important that he's not a fully kind of... He's not the hero, and he's not the victim either. Like, he's kind of... You get the impression that he's almost like this malevolent judge. He's like, he sticks his nose up at, like, normal people. And,
yeah. He's quite snobbish, isn't he?
Yeah, and then having his power taken away, and then having his power further stripped down by this kind of primal figure that represents everything that he was kind of, his job was to stop. Like, he's a lawless figure. Like, that's why the rule of Jenny Penn. It's a tribal thing.
Sure, yeah. It sounds like the name made me think it was a folk horror. Like before I watched it, it sounds like it could be something in some weird village in Wales.
Yeah,
where they eat you.
I have a random aside, actually, because you mentioned Solstice and you just said folk horror.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine, a colleague, came up to me today, and he just got back from, you know how kids do stuff in the summer, they have sports days and stuff, and he's
probably had some idea of that sort of thing.
Yeah. His little lad had done, so they don't do recorders anymore, they got tin whistles. And he showed me a video of his little lad doing like a tin whistle orchestra with all his schoolmates.
Well,
and it was Wicker Man music.
That's Wicker Man-esque as hell, that.
Yeah, and he played it, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's like folk horror music.
Burn anyone afterwards. There's an episode about, like, what was it called now? In Inside Number 9.
Oh, yeah.
They have John Barleycorn playing at the end of it. I can't remember what the episode's called now, but it's a folk horror in a school, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very good.
Oh, God, it's Mr. Something. I've forgotten.
Inside Number 9 is great.
Yeah.
So, Rule of Jenny Penn, fantastic. Worth watching alone for Jeffrey Rush and John Lithgow, but also if you are terrified of getting old or ending up in a home.
Oh, yeah.
I don't often think about my own mortality.
No, me neither, but I did when I was watching this.
I did, yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a hard watch, man. And if you've got relatives who are getting older, and if you have any empathy for older people, it's a bit more distressing. Yeah. It's but it's a really good film, but it is hard to watch in stomach in places. Right, so moving on, we're going to talk about The Surrender, which was written and directed by Julia Max, who we're going to have on the show. We're just fresh off the interview moments ago, which you'll hear in a few more moments.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about this film that won't be probably said in the interview. It's about, as you put it while we were talking, a botched resurrection. Yes.
So it's about a botched resurrection, but yeah, it's about grief. It's about kind of familial dynamic, mother-daughter.
Very convincingly.
Mother-father.
Colby Minifie's in it. She's incredible.
Yeah. And it has a supernatural side. It's very much this, obviously, like Sinners that we're going to talk about shortly. It's a film of two halves, but it kind of teases the second half right at the beginning of the film. It's got an amazing practical creature effect as well.
Yeah. It was excellent.
Yeah, it crosses over with a lot of films, but as we say in the interview, it's definitely its own thing. So I wouldn't want to reduce it by comparing it, but we will let Julia explain.
I'd best left to Julia to talk about that.
Yeah.
Just before we go on to that, before I forget, so The Real Jenny Penn, what would you double bill it with?
You know what? Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep, that's a great eye.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, oh, Bubba Hotep's a great film.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and it would be a good antidote to it as well.
Yes.
I wanted to prolong the suffering because I paired it with possum.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine? Can you imagine having any good thoughts for the rest of the week after you watch those two?
Oh, I'd have to go for a shower straight afterwards. But it's a great pairing with the puppet and everything.
They certainly fit. If you want to have a really miserable time, watch both of these. I mean, they're good films. Don't get me wrong, but if you want something bleak, watch The Rule of Jenny Penn alongside Possum. Or if you want to go 50-50, watch it with Bubba Hotep, which is incredible.
Yeah, Bubba Hotep, for anyone that's not seen, Bruce Campbell plays a aging Elvis who didn't actually die.
The real Elvis, yeah.
And he's
actually Elvis in it.
He's in a retirement home, and his best mate is a black JFK, and they fight a murderous mummy who sucks souls out of our souls.
Who directed that? Don Coscarelli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not as silly as that sounds. It's not at all as silly as that sounds.
It's funny and it's quite heartfelt as well.
Yeah.
It's not as daft as... It is daft, but it's not as daft as you might think.
It's a true cult classic.
Yeah, it's excellent. Anyway, and so we'll get right on to the interview. Here it is. We're going to talk about a newish movie which we've mentioned on the show briefly before. Ken recommended it to me, and around the same time we were putting together this episode of the show, we wanted to include it in our list. The movie's called The Surrender. It's currently streaming on Shudder, and it's our pleasure to welcome to the show writer and director Julia Max, live from Los Angeles.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to talk with you both.
Yeah, so first of all, great film, really, really fantastic. We've got a lot to say about it, which we'll discuss outside of the interview. But I've tried to tailor my questions to best explain some of the motivations behind the film, but not kind of delve too much into it. I think to kick us off, I'll probably talk about during your promotion of The Surrender, you've said that it was kind of based on your own personal experience of bereavement. So I'm just wondering, what was that like transcribing to film? And were you always going to filter it through horror?
Yes, the plan was always to have this be a horror film. I cannot think of a better genre for dealing with grief than horror. Yeah, honestly, like writing this and directing this has been such a wonderful way of processing my stepfather's passing. And it's one of the things I love about art, whether it's film or painting or music or whatever. It's such a wonderful tool to process those really difficult feelings that you can't express super easily, and so yeah, every step of the way, this has been such a learning experience, and it's been really interesting seeing how it's helped me in my own grief process everything.
A lot of the film is about being kind of lost in unreliable memories, or at least recollections that are kind of skewed by individual perception. At one point, Megan is trapped within a memory that she's been latching onto, and she realizes it's her own personal kind of horrible limbo. Was this a realization of your grief process that you wanted to communicate, of that of memory?
Oh God, this is something I struggle with constantly. I don't know about you too, but especially like my mother and I, we constantly have just polar opposite memories of events. And we used to have my stepfather as kind of a tiebreaker to be like, actually, this is what happened. But when he passed away, it's just us trying to sort through these things. And it's very surreal how someone who lived through these experiences with you can have such a different, wildly different recollection of what happened. So that was very important for me to capture, because especially when someone passes, your whole perception of them can change and alter. And it's so interesting whether you let someone else's memory affect your own, or if you choose to hold on to the memories that you have and choose to remember those as the correct factual ones.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very you're confronted in the film about how one-sided that can be, without her mother to kind of deliberate over this memory. Megan's kind of stuck with this horrible cycle of what she perceives and whether it was real or not. It's quite horrible.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with memories. They're all filtered through our own perception of things, and to be honest, that's very one-sided.
Mm.
It is so important to see other perspectives and to get other sides of things, because usually the truth is not necessarily what we think it is.
It's part of the perception of Megan's character as well. Initially, well, for a lot of the film, she comes off as quite selfish. Obviously, she's a specific demographic of person, and she can come off as quite a negative character. But the film is about her journey. Like there are several different surrenders, both physical and mental, in the movie, and yeah, it's great to see her go through that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was I think it's really important to show both characters, both the mother and daughter, as flawed. I don't think anyone is perfect and blameless in any situation. And so I'm glad that that came across for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
there's
found,
different. Go on, guys. Go on.
I was just going to say, I found their relationship very convincing. Uh,
Thank
I have many women in my life who have similarly sort of strained relationships, particularly with their mother, and it comes
It's a
across
tricky one.
very well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
Yeah,
particularly like
no,
I enjoyed the adoption of the new age stuff, which is something I've personally lived through with my mother.
oh yeah, that's fun navigating those waters. Oh, but yeah.
So it's it's kind of a film of two halves, and we've spoke a lot about the dealing with grief. I mean, it's probably a bit reductive to call it a grief drama in the first half, but that's what it's exploring in that first half. But you open with quite a striking kind of practical effect of this kind of, let's call it, I don't know, a botched resurrection or something. It's quite interesting that you start with that as well and then lead into the first kind of hour, which is the mother-daughter dynamic. Can you tell us a bit about the designing and kind of conceptualizing that monster or the father?
Yeah, I mean the working with our incredible special effects team, Sierra Spence and Russell of Russell Effects, they were so fantastic, and just such a phenomenal team. Their work is so realistic. I mean, there were several points during the process where I would go into the studio to see what they had created and was genuinely like, oh, Sierra, your hand looks super janky and fucked up right now. And then I was like, oh my God, that's the prosthetic. I'm so sorry. I thought that was your actual hand. Um, but it was a lot of fun designing the creatures. We originally took it in a very different direction and then kind of realized that too many other films were going in a similar direction to that. So we did a total 180 and pivoted on a dime, and Sierra was fantastic.
wow.
Yeah, she was such a trooper. I was like, I know this is completely different than everything we have discussed up until now, but how would you feel about going in this other direction? And luckily we had enough time and she was like, great, let's do it.
Wow.
Um,
It is very unique.
Yeah, it
Thank
is.
you. I appreciate that. It is really challenging to come up with creature ideas that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine. I
yeah,
mean, we're big appreciators of practical effects on this show, given our age.
they're great.
We grew up with some really good movies, and just on the topic of other movies, could you share some um, of the influences that might have that come into play while you were making the Surrender?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the for the actors, because of course each department had their own list of movie references. But for the actors, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf was actually a really big one because I
Oh
think
wow,
that,
yeah,
that is such a powerhouse powerhouse performances from those actors. And of course, it's a little surreal, like using that as a reference when Kate Burton's father was in the movie, Richard Burton. Um, which to be completely honest, I forgot that entirely when I first brought that up to her. And she was
Wow.
like, yeah, I remember being on that set. And I was like, of course you do. Of course you do. Right, right. Totally.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was a big one to me for the actors because those are such rich characters and it is so much about this power struggle between, the two leading characters. And I feel like that is very much what's happening here with the mother-daughter is this constant kind of struggle for control over an uncontrollable situation, you know? And then of course we had Jean Dillman was a big influence for the first act of the film and how we shot it and coming back to the same camera setups over and over to kind of show that monotony of caretaking because it is very monotonous and
Mm.
it's draining and exhausting. And for our third act, we went in the complete opposite direction. And once they get to like this crazy other space, a
Mm.
Black Swan was actually a huge reference for that. The
Ah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
camera. But the hilarious thing about that, we had so many big camera movements planned. And then once we got into this space, we realized, oh, dear God, if you don't have a clear point of reference in the background, a lot of these don't actually work.
ah,
It's a void. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, in my little storyboards, I was like, you always have the circle at the bottom to kind of ground you and help show you. But in order to achieve that, the circle would have had to have been massive, and it wouldn't have
yeah,
actually fit
sure.
the living room. So it was very interesting getting it's one of those interesting things about filmmaking when you get into the space and realize, some of the things we have planned didn't quite work. So now we've got to pivot and figure out a way to make them work.
Nice. Um, now we've spoken a bit about the second half of the film, which kind of goes into that kind of supernatural vibe and influences. One of our favorite films here at the Manchester Morgue is Liam Gavin's A Dark Song,
I love Dark
which
Song.
I recommended The Surrender to Gaz by saying you've got to watch this. It's got real Dark Song vibes. So that was an influence, was it?
Oh, absolutely. I love that movie so much. Yeah, I feel like sometimes with filmmaking there is a fear that people have of like, oh, maybe this is too similar, and if it's been done before, you can't do anything similar to it again. But personally, I think this is really different from A Dark Song, but A Dark Song gave me the confidence
Mm,
that making a movie like that was possible. Because it is really tremendously helpful to be able to see another slow burn horror film that takes
Mm.
its time, but is wonderful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful film. And to be able to be like, hey, it worked here. This is proof that doing it this way does work. Because I feel like slow burn in particular, people get very, very anxious about that at times, which
Mm.
is
yeah,
one of the reasons that we opened the movie in the way we did. It's a promise to our audience that it's like, if you stick with us,
Yeah.
things will go crazy. You just got to be patient because if you don't take that time to set it up in the beginning, you don't get to know your characters and you don't care about them. And if you don't care about them, then the whole second half of the movie doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great tonal up and down in a good way. You start with that kind of startling image, and you almost forget about it because you get so involved in the lives of these two kind of these people dealing with illness and death. And then when it turns back around and we come into the which is what reminded me of Dark Song, um, the man comes into the plot and there are kind of lore implications behind him that are never explained, but in a really good way. I think
Mm.
that's what kind of really sells it. You don't have to know the details of this. It's all about atmosphere and mood. Very, very cool. And they are very distinctly different films.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sometimes I think sometimes there is a tendency to over explain. I feel like a lot of the times that's like the
Hmm.
studio note, like, oh, you need to make it clear why everyone does exactly what they do and where they come from. And sometimes that makes it less scary when you
Yeah,
explicitly explain it all.
it does. I think it was the last episode, wasn't it, Ken? We discussed the Blair Witch Project, which is
Mhm.
obviously an iconic movie, and on similar terms, you don't really see anything. The thing, a lot of the stuff is not explained, and the talking heads in the town at the beginning, they're all very vague about what they've seen out in the woods. It's not very defined, and that adds to it.
Mm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look at 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like as
Yeah.
soon as you actually explicitly say what the ending is, it just falls apart and you're just like, huh, okay, I guess. But when you don't say it, it leads so much more open to interpretation and it's much more mystical and
Yeah.
imaginative and creative.
Yeah. Um, I really loved Pieces of Me. Your short.
Thank you.
I feel like there are some tonal similarities with the surrender, specifically with people feeding off each other, both physically and mentally. Is that kind of a thematic through line in your work? Is that what you're thinking about when you're writing?
I love that. Yes, it is. But I really love the way you put that. Yes, 100%.
Mm,
Oh gosh, that was a fun one. I remember with Pieces of Me, I showed the script to a few people, other writers that I know and professors from USC, and it's really interesting how that kind of satire and hu dark humor doesn't necessarily come across on the page when you're
Mm.
reading the script. When you see it, it makes sense, but oh boy, when I was in the script phase for that one, it was really interesting seeing so many people just be like, I don't, I don't understand, but I think you might need therapy. This is really not. And then they saw it and they were like, oh, I get it. It was supposed to be funny. I was like, yes.
Yeah. But thank you for judging me ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm really glad that that was your takeaway upon the first read. Cool.
Yeah.
mm.
Speaking of tonal, not so much clashes, but tonal differences, what was it like transitioning to this kind of material after spending 4 years as production designer on the Swan Princess?
Mhm.
That's right. I went to IMDb.
Oh, I know. One of the funny things about IMDb is once you get a credit up there, you cannot take it off, which is hilarious to me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, everything is just up there forever. Yes, no, the Swan Princess, that was my day job for many years, and I am
Mm.
so grateful that I had that. I learned a lot about filmmaking, but more importantly than that, the hours in that allowed me to write, which is fantastic. Because as you know, when you're doing a day job, and especially if you're working in film, which are really long hours,
Mm.
it can be really challenging to work on your own projects.
Mm.
But yes, animation is a totally different beast, and I don't know, I hope to jump back into it at some point. But yes, Swan Princess was a very different world. Not even remotely my cup of tea story-wise. Um, but it taught me a lot, especially on the production accounting front, which was incredibly helpful on the surrender and pieces of me, as well as the scheduling side of things. Having an understanding of that process makes directing a lot easier.
Yeah, from what little I know about the logistics of filmmaking, it feels like it would be a boon to learn that side of it first, or at least along the journey.
Yeah, I feel like it's the side that is very boring to most people. And so they're like, oh, I'll just skip over it and leave it to the producers. And
Yeah.
you can do that. But personally, I find having a background in that extremely helpful because it helps you stay on budget, it helps you stay on schedule, and have realistic expectations of what you can actually accomplish.
So I think that's it for me for the general kind of focus questions. But I did wonder what's next for Julia Max.
Oh boy. I mean, right now I'm writing several different things. We'll see which gets going next.
Nice.
I think that is the crazy, unpredictable nature of filmmaking is that you always have like five different projects going and you have no idea what is actually going to
Sure.
get going next. But they are all horror. Not
Yes.
going back to this
There we
one.
go. Nice.
So yes, all horror films. But definitely, after the surrender, I definitely well, to be honest, it's less about the surrender and more about where my country is at the moment. I need something a little
Well,
light. I think we all need a little escapism right
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah.
So yes, so dealing with things that are a bit more fun and lighthearted. I mean, I kept calling the surrender fun, but my husband Ian, who's also a producer on this, was like, I don't think that's the right word to
it
use.
is. It is
It
quite
is.
fun in
It's
places.
funny. I mean,
I think it's fun.
yeah.
But yeah, I think horror is by far, I mean, to make a horror film is the most fun genre to create. I think comedy is probably the least fun and the most challenging in many ways. Because like the jokes get so repetitive and it's really hard to kind of keep up that
Yeah.
energy take after take. But horror is always a blast, especially when you're dealing with practical effects and it's not
Yeah.
all CGI green screen. That's really difficult to do.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what goes next.
Yeah, so are
So
we.
we.
If before you go, we won't keep you much longer. I messaged you that with the kind of theme of our show is that we pair up a couple of movies for a double bill.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you what you felt might be a good companion piece for the surrender. I know what my thoughts are, and I'm sure Ken's got his thoughts.
Oh, I'm
But
excited to
yeah,
hear.
please share that.
For me, I think a really fun pairing with the surrender would be Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think now you've mentioned that, I might pair them in the future.
Yeah.
Just think that would be such a fun double feature there. Oh, I love that movie so much. And that was also a big inspiration for this movie as well. I gotta ask, I am so curious. First off, when's the last time you saw that movie?
Baby
Many
Jane.
years ago, honestly.
Um, so I saw it when it had a recent in the UK. It had a recent kind of restoration on Blu-ray, and I got that. I watched it recently. It was very good.
It's
It's a
wonderful.
so I studied it in university, and for some reason, when I studied it, I wasn't under the impression that it was kind of horror adjacent. But as the more I watch it, which is crazy, really, but the more I watch it, I'm very into the horror of it and how it's influenced a lot of things in the horror genre.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing that's so interesting about the horror genre is it covers so many wildly different films. And I think that there's a tendency for people to just assume, oh, horror, that's, slashers, blood and guts and
Yeah,
everything. It's
yeah.
Mm.
like it encapsulates so many other types of movies. So many of my family members who adamantly are like, I hate horror films. They were very kind and watched Surrender because I made it. And they're like, oh, it like actually had a story. It was like I actually enjoyed it. There were actually characters. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, that can happen.
in a lot of horror films. Horror is
Yeah.
not what you think it is. But I would be very curious to hear your perspective on whatever happened to Baby Jane. every time I watch it, I am always surprised because I always somehow forget about the crazy relationship between the British guy and his mom and how over the top they are. It's like they're acting in a different movie. And, as Brits, what's that like watching that?
I can't. Well, I can't give you any personal insight into having a horrible relationship with my mother. I don't know what you're talking about. No, if she listens to the podcast, she knows that we're fine for now.
She. Oh.
But it feels like such a caricature. I mean, my mom's British, and so I have a lot of family in London. But I remember always being like, gosh, that's not what this is not my perception of British culture at all. And I was just wondering how you felt about it.
I think it is. Yeah, it's skewed through a lens. Yeah, it through that kind of that melodramatic psychodrama lens. But yeah, I'm thinking on it now.
It is wild. Like, yeah, the next time you watch it, give it really tune in on that. It's just like, it reminds me very much of when I was a kid and I used to go and visit my cousins in London, and they had this perception of Americans that we were all like the people you see on Jerry Springer. And I was like,
Mm.
what? How is that? I was like, you know me, I've never behaved this way. And they're like, yeah, but you're half British, so that's
It,
why.
yeah, it's the media the cultural filter, isn't it? The media perception. I only recently went to America for the first time, and I was actually shocked that everyone is very nice, very nice and polite.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Wait, where did you go?
Seattle, we went to Snoqualmie in Seattle.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Twin Peaks holiday.
Love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So wait, I'm curious to know what you guys would choose for double billing.
Well, now I'm turned around to Baby Jane. Obviously, I really want. I did actually watch A Dark Song again after the surrender because because I really love both films, and we've spoken about this, but both films have this. The perception is that in this world, in the world that the characters inhabit, the super, magic is real. Like for the H.G. Wells quote about, for all intents and purposes, like science and magic, it's just a thing commonplace in the world. And these characters, these magicians or whatever you want to call them, wander in and out of the plots. Well, with the Dark Song, it's a central character, but it's never explained. It's just kind of commonplace. Even the main characters in the surrender, when confronted, Megan is quite taken aback, obviously, but when confronted with this, they very quickly reach an equilibrium with the situation, which I find quite engaging. Um, the I suppose it would have been easy to make the characters hysterical throughout and like never kind of gaining any sort of balance with their environment, but Megan does quite quickly, and her mother as well at the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that is one of the really interesting things about grief that I really wanted to make sure came through in the movie is that it's not just one note all the time. It is such an emotional roller coaster, and I always think of it as just losing your emotional filter. So everything that comes through, you can't really control it the way you normally would. Every passing thought, every passing feeling comes through so strong, and then it's gone and on to the next one.
Yeah.
Um,
And you question yourself. I had a conversation quite recently with a friend who's recently lost a grandparent, and it was quite a long, protracted illness. But he didn't really feel anything afterwards, and he was like, "Why am I numb? Is it me?" And I'm like, "It's a long, protracted process. You've already made these calculations in your head. Just because now you're numb, you don't, you shouldn't question yourself."
yeah, that's such a normal response. Having like to just go numb for a while. it is one of the things like I don't feel like we talk about this enough in society. And I think it's such a pity because when you're going through it, it does feel extremely isolating. And it makes you question yourself in ways like, am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Whereas if we were able to discuss it a bit more freely, I think people would realize like, oh, no, this is just part of the process, and it's something that we all go through at some point.
Yeah, there's quite an interesting, just going back to the film briefly, there's quite an interesting dynamic in the first kind of act where the characters aren't communicating in any conventional sense. They're kind of backbiting and no one's kind of telling each other how they feel. And there's this kind of the nurse comes in at one point and acts as kind of a proxy, feeding information and impressions between them. And that's the viewer gets kind of an idea of what kind of characters they are through that communication. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. No, it's so much of that in that first act that was, inspired by what my mother and I went through, which was a complete surprise to me at the time. And one of the things that was so important that I really wanted to bring through in this is the whole giving a loved one half the amount of morphine. That's extremely common, apparently. It
Mm,
happens all the time. And the overdose of morphine, that's how my stepfather passed away. And it is incredibly common. A lot of people I've talked to, it's so easy to get those doses screwed up, especially when there's so many people coming in and out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the guilt that comes with that, the fear and the unknowing what to do or how to handle that situation. Yeah, I really wanted to capture that and share that with people.
that definitely came through. It
Yeah.
was deeply felt.
Thank you. And Gaz, I'm so sorry we didn't get to your what would you have
Oh,
picked?
don't worry. Similarly, thematically, um, I went with Justin Dick's Anything for Jackson. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, I haven't.
Oh yeah,
It's
For
sim
that's a good
it's
choice
a bit
actually.
more obvious when you read the synopsis. You'll see what I mean. It's possibly a bit more obvious than what you guys were saying, but I think it would make for a good double bill with the Surrender, definitely. But check it out; it's a great
Yeah,
movie.
Oh,
It's
I can't.
yeah,
similar themes. There's a lot of grief in there and stuff, and it's yeah, I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Nice. I love it. I
Mm.
love movie recommendations.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely not going to say any more on that because I think you really like it, Julia.
Cool. Wonderful. I'm assuming it's a horror.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
I feel like that's
I do occasionally watch other things, but yeah, mainly mainly horror movies.
yeah. My friends are always shocked when my top 10 of the year, some of them are not horror.
Yeah.
My number two last year was Anora. That's a drama.
Oh, that was such a good one.
It's very good.
Yeah, that was, did you see oh my gosh, wait. What is it? Exuma?
No.
No, I haven't
Oh.
seen Exuma.
Oh my
Add to
God.
that to the list.
That was one
Yeah.
of my favorites last year. It was uh this Korean film. It blew my mind. It was
Oh,
so good.
great.
Yeah, it was one of those like I feel like the first half of it would have been like can already see the Americanized version of it, like, oh, this is how they would make, and then they just pivoted so hard and it's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know what you think when you see it, but it's great.
Yeah, that's one for the list. Thank you. All right, cool. We won't keep you any longer, Julia. Thank you so much for being part of the show. This is really special for us. Um, we'll send you a link to the episode when it's up, and you can, have a listen.
Have a listen to yourself.
Have a listen to yourself talk.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you.
for having me. It's been such a pleasure talking with you both.
Awesome. All right,
Thank
thank you very
you.
much, Julia. Take care.
Bye.
So yeah, that was Julia Max. She was lovely. Big thanks to Julia for coming on the show.
Yeah, great to speak with her.
Yeah, very insightful. Next up on our list, we have. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this film before. It's directed by Ryan Coogler. It's called Sinners.
It's not very popular, is it? So it's a bit obscure.
A bit obscure.
God,
you like this, right? It's got a stacked cast.
Come on,
right? Because one of the characters is called Stack.
No one's made that joke yet. This is the most
genuinely not
memed film at the moment, and I've not heard that joke.
Fucking yes. So Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, Wunmi Mosaku, who was in His House, another great film.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah.
Haley Steinfeld was in it.
Oh, the other His House. Who's in His House? The other character's in Sinners as well.
Was he?
His wife in the house as well. She's in Sinners. She's the Stacks.
Wunmi Mosaku. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, we are a film podcast.
Yeah, we're doing well. Yeah. Wunmi Mosaku is in His House, and she was in Lovecraft Country as well.
Yeah. She's amazing. I don't know. I don't even know where to fucking start with this film. I keep hyperbolizing about it. That's not a word, but Sinners is. I tell you what. I'll condense it down. Sinners is so good because it's like 5 films.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot going on.
So it's a siege horror.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a
musical.
It's a fantasy musical. It's a political allegory, a social allegory about culture.
When you put it like this, it sounds madder than Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
but it's not.
So it's also a crime film, like Smoke and Stack, both come from Chicago, like ex-military come from Chicago gangsters.
Literally coming from Al Capone's house.
Yeah. So it's a crime film. If it got one or two of those things, if it nailed one or two of those things, if Coogler nailed like one of those things, it would have been a good film. But he nails all of them.
Yeah. I had no complaints at all.
It's a film that you can go and watch if you want a popcorn horror, or you can go and watch if you want to think, or if you just like really fucking dope music. It was great. Yeah. And there is a weird bit of like time traveling, mind bendingness to it at one point, but it doesn't outstay its welcome, and it sounds bonkers to say it, but it does fit. Yeah,
it's not part of the theme overall. It just sort of happens and it works. Like the blurred lines between different points in history.
Yeah, it says something that when that kind of happens, which is the kind of the musical centerpiece of the film. You go with it. You're just like, I'm with this now.
Yeah, I was invested enough to just go with it. Yeah,
and usually to use our favorite term, elevated horror. Usually when you get like elevated with horror, I can't bring myself to say it.
Well, I think this is partly what Julia was talking about as well, wasn't it? How you talk to people about. She said she was making a horror movie, and people would be like, oh, right. And they have this preconception of horror just being a single thing, where it encompasses so much more than what people give it credit for. Yeah.
But we talk about like the tropes of horror and stuff, but there's throughout the ages, throughout like cinema, it's horror that's brought us the bigger themes, that's kind of brought to the forefront things that into the kind of the cultural eye that we haven't usually thought of. It's horror that does that. It's very rarely any other genre that can push things forward like that. And I think Sinners does that to an extent. I mean, obviously Coogler started off a very small film called Fruitvale Station, which is also Michael B. Jordan, great, about the killing of a teenage boy in America. Moved on to Creed, fantastic Rocky franchise film.
I've never seen it, I think of his films I've only seen Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther, which is great.
It's a great film, yeah.
Black Panther and Wakanda Forever stand alone in the MCU as like very much Ryan Coogler's films. And then along comes Sinners, and it takes the size of a Marvel film, like he's worked on these kind of big films now, and he's taking that into his own kind of creation, his own IP. And it's just so well handled, and it's about everything. It's about music, it's about race, it's about like spindly Irish vampires with cool teeth, and
do a bit of what's that Irish thing? River dancing.
They do a bit of river dancing. It's about like oral sex.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of that.
It's about saliva.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluid.
Yeah. So it's about all those things, basically. And it succeeds in all of them. It's a great film. It's an enduring film. I think we're going to be talking about it for many years. I think, having been a film student, I think film students are going to be bored with Sinners for many years to come.
Yeah.
It's very much an archetypal film.
What would you double bill it with?
I mean, what am I going to say?
Well, see, I thought this, but it wasn't the first thing that struck me, but I think there's an obvious choice.
I think people think... I've read a few things. People think it's reductive to compare it to Dusk Till Dawn, but I think Dusk Till Dawn is very much a product of Robert Rodriguez's heritage. Like, it has the musical element. It has kind of the Mexicali stylings. So it's just as worthy a film in terms of theme, even though it is a Tarantino script. And
I mean, it's very Mexican.
Yeah, it's a Tarantino script, and it's got like extended speeches about pussy and whatnot. But I think it deserves to be mentioned in the same breath in terms of being a siege vampire horror.
Yeah,
as Sinner. So it's got to be Dusk Till Dawn.
Fair enough. I went with Near Dark.
Ah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That Near Dark, because it's kind of about these outcasts on the fringes of society, which is only one element of Sinners. Like the speakeasy is just kind of this microcosm of like black culture and music, and in Near Dark, it's kind of punk, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And there's literal bits like there's a bit with a vampire running through a field at daybreak getting burnt up, which happens I think at least 18 times in Near Dark.
Yeah.
Or maybe one time. Maybe I've remembered it wrong. It absolutely happens in Near Dark.
Sinners and Near Dark both the characters have like the dopest names. So obviously we've got like Smoke and Stack, which is great. Every name in Near Dark is great. Severin, Diamondback, like Caleb. Great.
And they're all very southern. It looks very hot in both films.
Yeah, it's very, very, very hot and sweaty.
Very hot and sweaty.
I like how you can't really understand what people are saying in like both films as well. I'm quite good. I'm quite good with especially American accents. My partner who went to see it like needed subtitles, or I wish there were subtitles at the cinema. Michael B. Jordan will like be talking for 5 minutes and you won't know what he said. But yeah.
All right, moving on. So I've only just watched this. This is very fresh in my mind. The Ugly Stepsister.
Oh,
who directed that, Ken?
Oh, I haven't got the director's name, but you can try.
No, I haven't written it down because I didn't want to try. I knew I would mispronounce it.
I only had the main character, which... Oh, no, I did have the director's name.
Go on.
So, Emily Blichfeld.
All right, cool. That's a good shout.
I know a lot of Scandinavian people. So.
I'd have balls that right up and we would have been cancelled. So good. Good work.
Wait, it was a Scandinavian film. Are we going to get cancelled anyway? I'm pretty sure it was a Scandinavian film.
Well, let's fucking hope so now.
Yeah, so and then the main fantastic performance by Lee Marin, who is the main character, Elvira.
Oh yeah, she's dope.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying this is because we must compare things, as our interview with Julia kind of attests to. We must compare things, and a lot of people are saying it's the substance.
Well, I think I was thinking this. Obviously, I'll ask you what your. Well, we can do our double bill bit now if you want. I mean, that was my first choice, and I thought that's too obvious. Although, however, I do think that perhaps it paved the way for it a little bit with its resurgence of sort of body horror tropes.
It feels like they will have been made in parallel.
Yeah, do you think?
Given the timeline, yeah. I think...
Well, I mean, Substance was...
I think now's the time...
Substance was only last year, wasn't it? I keep thinking it was years ago.
Yeah, now's the climate for stories like that about the perception of women and like the
unattainable standards, and that they have to... Well, the things they do to themselves just because of societal pressure to be a certain way, and their worth is only that, how they appear.
So obviously that's a through line in both films. I think there's more of a societal element to Ugly Stepsister than there is in the Substance.
Yeah, it explores the hierarchy a bit more, doesn't it? Because you've got the whole prince thing going on. And all
it's the aristocracy. It's like it adds an extra.
Everyone in this film is a piece of shit.
Everyone is a abhorrent character. I mean, Elvira is. She's
not a nice person, but I mean, at the same time, she's a victim of what we were just talking about. I think she's pushed to be a certain way.
and she believes that she deserves it because she's got that fairy tale kind of. So it's based on Cinderella, right? Yeah, it's the Cinderella story.
It's the story of the sister, of the ugly stepsister of Cinderella.
Yeah, one of the ugly stepsisters is the central character in the film, and the film is essentially about her trying to get to the ball with the prince and the things that she does to do it.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things that
there's a couple
to watch.
There's a couple of things. One thing actually made me jump. It was that horrible.
Oh.
So both of them surround self-surgery. Not self-surgery.
Oh, some of my skin was crawling on so many of these things.
Yeah, Victoria. Is it?
Well, I was thinking that. I said, what time period it is?
Yeah.
It seems like Elizabethan, kind of.
Yeah, I think when something's old, I just say Victorian.
I was going to say medieval, but clearly later than that.
Yeah.
I'm not a historian. We're a film podcast. Go and listen to a history podcast.
Grim fairy tale era.
Yeah, it's grim fairy tale era. So there's not much in the way of technology. So the lengths that you have to go to attain beauty in a plastic surgery sense are as grim as you might expect. I won't go into any great detail about this because I think that's spoiler territory. But it's hard work.
It is. Let's just say plastic surgery and leave it at that.
Surgery.
So trigger warning. Remember, they didn't have the tools that they have now.
No.
So yeah.
No.
And then the other element of it is at one point she ingests a tapeworm.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, for a bit though, yeah, she wanted to lose weight, so she ingests a tapeworm egg.
Yeah. Which,
to be fair, she sells it quite well because it seems like the only negative side effects for a bit are that she goes a bit bald.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could go a tapeworm. I'm already bald.
And she eats loads, which I already do.
Yeah, I could eat like a fuck and then I'd just be more bald than I already am. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, that's not the only consequence, as you find out later. But on the face of it, I could go a tapeworm or two.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it's really great. It's a
synth heavy score. That's what I've written in my notes because that's important. It reminded me. I don't think thematically, but because of the setting and it being a dark fantasy, there's a lot of that about in the 80s, and I think they were referencing that with the score, like Neverending Story. Not that it was particularly dark, but there were scary bits in it, And this is obviously very much an adult film. It's not like Neverending Story, but
when you say
in
that
dark fantasy manner, I think the score fits.
When you say that, I'm thinking now about like Company of Wolves.
Yeah, that's a better shout. Yeah. Double bill. There you go.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
That's not a bad shout.
Because I was like, I need to go substance, but yeah, Company of Wolves.
Well, I went substance initially, as I said. Then I started thinking of other things. Ironically, the film that I ended up thinking of probably would pair better with the substance. I went with Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, fantastic.
But the more I thought about them thematically, I thought actually the substance and Death Becomes Her probably have quite a lot in common. And they'd be a great double bill. I also sort of thought of Starry Eyes as well.
Oh, Starry Eyes is great.
Yeah.
Why haven't more people seen that?
But it's not as comedic, I think. But it's not comedic at all, is it?
Starry Eyes is quite good.
It's not good. It's not funny at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's your double bills for you.
Yeah. Ugly Stepsister, great.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that. Well, I enjoyed is a strong word. No, I did. I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah.
Final movie off the list. It's Predator: Killer of Killers.
I forgot there for a second, so I waited for you to. I was like, don't pause.
I could see it in your face that you're like, oh shit, what is it?
Yeah, so this is.
I didn't make any notes for this because I think I'll be able to speak on it with joy.
But it's a co-directing project with Dan Trachtenberg, who of course made the excellent Prey, and Joshua Vasung. Again, we're terrible. I think he directed. He had another similar animation thing, so he's probably helping Dan out with the whole animation side of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an anthology. Well, it's kind of an anthology, but
three separate tales, certainly.
Three separate tales, but it has like a definite
narrative through it. Yeah, sure.
That kind of gives us a bit more Predator lore, and I feel like we haven't had a lot of. I feel like that franchise hasn't been saturated. I feel like Alien's saturated. I feel like Predator isn't.
Yeah.
And we had Prey, which kind of rebooted us and reminded us how cool the Yautja can be.
And obviously asked the question, what would happen if Predators or Yautja arrived at different periods in history?
Yeah.
And this film answers it for you.
It answers it, and then it throws in a bit of wibbly wobbly in there as well.
Yeah. But I mean, it's essentially like an episode of that show what was it? The one where different warriors from history had to fight. Deadliest Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, what would happen if a ninja fought a Viking and stuff like that? I mean, I think that's...
And people say that all the time, don't? Well, people say that all the time. Like Predator nerds always say that. It's the reason that what's he called? Oh, the guy that directed Predators. I can't remember. Nimrod Antal.
Oh yeah.
It's the reason that we had the kind of Yakuza guy.
Which one did Robert Rodriguez direct then?
No, Robert Rodriguez produced the Nimrod Antal one.
Did he?
Yeah.
So maybe it said on it from producer.
Yeah, he might have co-wrote the script as well. But yeah, that's the reason why you had that awesome scene in the tall grass where the Yakuza guy fights him with the samurai sword.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's the what if Predator, and I think this one it throws up some cool ones, like what if a Predator fought a Viking, but then it'll give you something really awesome that I hadn't even thought of. What if one of the cool Predator ships fought like a fighter plane?
Yeah, which isn't a spoiler because you see this in the trailer anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really well done. It's just if you're a fan of Predator movies as a almost a genre to itself, and you appreciate the canon, I was just sat grinning all the way through it.
Yeah,
because it was so much fun.
I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did.
I was trepidatious because I got let down by hype, as does everybody. But no, this was great. Really enjoyed it. It's obviously set in the same universe as Prey. It's the same. The first step that was taken towards this what if after Predators was Prey.
Yeah.
And then this film expands on those themes. It's more different.
It feels like it's a direct lead into Badlands as well.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
I love how... So the funny thing about Predator, the power of Predator fans. So the entire AVP cycle was born from just one set designer putting the alien skull in the end of Predator 2.
Oh, yeah.
And
incredible.
And now we have this kind of the flintlock pistol as well, which has made its way through the next film, and like it's in
the comics and everything.
Yeah, it's in the comics. It was in Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
I really love that bit as well because he's World War One pilot, and he's like, "This isn't even from my era."
yeah.
That was
lots of fun. But yeah, it might be a gateway to Badlands, mightn't it? As you said. Well, I think that's it for this week's episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what film we're doing next time because we haven't decided yet.
No, we've not decided.
But we'll have a chat and we'll come back with another episode.
We're too busy doing interviews with Hollywood filmmakers.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Live from LA.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Julia, for coming on. That was great.
Everyone watched The Surrender.
Everyone watched The Surrender. Yeah, it's a great horror movie. Just a great movie. Yeah. Very moving, very funny in places. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Tell your friends about us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day. See you next time.
Live from Manchester Morgue is an independent horror movie podcast, researched, written, produced and hosted by Gary Hames and Ken Talbot. New episodes air every 2 weeks on Spotify, Apple, YouTube and all major podcast providers. You can help us grow by leaving a rating or sharing the show with like-minded friends. If you want to get in touch, you can leave us a comment or email us at killertunes976@gmail.com.